Hello, I'm Beth Joey and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome. This is the channel where I paint my face, turn my camera on and talk about some books. Apologies if I'm on a little bit of an angle right now, my tripod's not balancing properly, so it might look a little bit strange, but we're just gonna go with it. I'm gonna attempt throughout the video to fix it and it could make it worse. Let's see what happens. We're at the beginning of April. I hope everybody's April is going well so far. I hope you're enjoying the sunshine. If you are in London, then you know that we had a little bit of snow towards the end of March, which was really nice. It was an unexpected turn of the weather because we're supposed to be in spring, but you know, we're going with it. If you are in realm of the readathon, I hope you are loving every minute of it so far. I just added my first book into the tracker for Team Bale. But as for what I want to do today, I just want to go through the books that I've read in March. So this is my March reading update. First off, we've got the trusty notebook here and we are going to go through a few quick stats for March. So for total books read, I read 13 books and no DNFs. So I read every single book that I picked up this month. It was a reasonably successful month. In terms of genres, it was 4 fantasy, 2 romance, 3 nonfiction, 3 mystery, and 1 contemporary, which that's probably the most diverse reading thing that I've ever done. Total pages read, I read 4,769 pages. So for average page count per book, that's 367. And then average page count per day, that is 154. For my best reading day in terms of pages, on the 6th of March, starting the month off strong, I read 589 pages. Now this is sort of cheating because I read Lore Olympus on that day, which is a graphic novel, and it's 384 pages. So that really helped to ramp up that page count. Then for my worst reading day in terms of pages, not counting the days where I didn't read at all, it was the 12th of March, so only like a week later, where I read only 25 pages that day. Don't know why, don't know what was happening that day, probably just didn't feel like it. For the number of books that I read by authors I've read from before, that was 1, which was Heart on Fire by Amanda Boucher, which I've talked about in a previous video, which I will link, of course. That was the 3rd book in the series, the Kingmaker Chronicles trilogy, so of course I've read the previous 2, so I've read from that author before. And then in terms of a number of authors I hadn't read before, that meant 12. I had 0 rereads this month, so it was all brand new to me, very exciting, and my average star rating was 3.2 stars, which tells you that I had some misses this month, because usually my star rating lately has been a bit higher. So breaking down the star ratings, we got 2 5 stars, 3 4 stars, 5 3 stars, 2 2 stars, and 1 1 star. Now for the next part of the video, I'm going to take you through my best and worst books of the month. For my worst book of the month, this was unfortunately my only 1-star read, and that was The Selection by Kiera Cass. Now just for a quick basis of why this was my worst book, it basically reminded me a lot of the good old days of Wattpad, but the bad side of Wattpad, where it was really fanfiction-y, it was really tropey, it was really stereotypical, it was very power imbalance in terms of male-female relationships, and it was definitely the romanticized view of royalty. The book is set in the world called Ilia, which is ruled over by a monarchy, and then everyone below that is set into castes, just like they were in the Hunger Games, for example. There's different divisions, and within each division, everybody specializes in different things. The main character, who I hardly remember the name of, oh my god, her name is completely America. Her name is America, and it's set in, you know, America in the future, which I thought was a bit of a laugh. Anyway, she is in the 5th caste, or a number 5, which means she specializes in the arts, and she is in love with someone who she's definitely not supposed to be in love with. It's a star-crossed lover kind of situation, named Aspen. He is a 6, which is sort of like the working class. They're like housekeepers. So the prince of this kingdom is just about to come of age, so he must participate in a ritual called the Selection, where in a bachelor style turn of events, I think it's like 30 something women are invited to live at the castle, go on a number of one-on-one dates with him, and he has to whittle it all the way down through those women to find his one true love, you know, his princess. They're gonna marry at the end of the thing. It's very, very bachelor style sort of thing. But on top of all of that, there is a rebel threat coming from the outside, from the north and south of this land, who obviously think this whole system is quite corrupt, quite dystopian, quite wrong, and so they're coming and they're trying to like attack the palace while these women are staying here, and so you're sort of facing the life-threatening situation of these rebels and then the life-threatening situation of a bunch of bitchy women all trying to vie for the same guy. If you can't tell, I had so many fundamental things that I really did not like about this book. For one, as I said before, the power imbalance between the characters was insane. Obviously, it was this prince choosing between all these women who had no power of their own. They were coming from all the different castes. They didn't have any level of royalty themselves. And they're being trussed up in this like make me pretty, make me beautiful kind of way in order to attract his attention. And everything is just in his control. And I didn't like that. I think you're supposed to think that America is a bit of a feminist. She sort of stands up for herself. But at the end of the day, every decision that she makes comes back to these two men that she really loves. I felt like I lost brain cells listening to these women interact because no intelligent conversations were had. It was all, I love this guy, you're not allowed to love him, you're wearing this dress and I want that dress, and you're looking pretty so I'm gonna wear the color that you wear in the hopes that it's his favorite color and maybe he'll notice me more. And I felt I lost so many brain cells from this sort of bachelor style competition, and the way that royalty was romanticized so drastically. I think I enjoyed the book generally in a guilty pleasure kind of way, in that when you read some of this old Wattpad stuff you go, oh, this is horrible but I'm loving it, it's so bitchy, it's great. It's like the sort of feeling that you have when you're watching like Keeping Up with the Kardashians or something, because you're like, this is killing my brain but I'm loving it because it's drama. But I'm not going to continue the series because I have more respect for myself and my reading habits than that, and I'm just not going to dedicate time towards a series that I wholeheartedly disagree with. Moving on from that, we are going to best book of the month for me, which was weirdly another non-fiction, because I don't usually read a lot of non-fiction, but this month I read 3, and the other best book of the month was Diddley Squat by Jeremy Clarkson, A Year on the Farm. In terms of what this is about, there is no one better than Jeremy Clarkson to describe it to you, so I'm just going to read directly from the blurb, and it says, "Welcome to Clarkson's farm. It's an idyllic spot offering picturesque views across the Cotswolds, bustling hedgerows, woodlands, and natural springs. Jeremy always liked the idea of being a farmer, but while he was barreling around the world having more fun with cars than was entirely reasonable, it seemed obvious that the actual, farming was much better left to someone else. Then one day he decided he would do the farming himself. After all, how hard could it be? Well, faced with suffocating red tape, biblical weather, local objections, a global pandemic, and his own, frankly, staggering ignorance of how to do farming, Jeremy soon realizes that turning the farm around is going to take more than splashing out on a massive tractor, which was a Lamborghini, by the way, and completely impractical. Fortunately, there's help at hand from a large and mostly willing team, including girlfriend Lisa, Caleb the tractor driver, cheerful Charlie, Ellen the shepherd, and Gerald, his head of security, and Drystone Waller. Between them, they enthusiastically cultivate crops, rear livestock and hens, keep bees, bottle spring water, and open a farm shop. But profits remain elusive. And yet, while the farm may be called Diddley Squat for good reason, Jeremy soon begins to understand that it's worth a whole lot more to him than pounds, shillings, and pence. So, I mean, you can just tell from that blurb that this book just has a lot of fun with itself, while also being a very political commentary at times on the state of the agricultural sort of rules and regulations at the time in the UK, and then also finding that balance between farmers just trying to make a living and, make a wage and keep their farm going, but then also customers in the shops like Lidl and Asda and everything like that, just trying to find the cheapest option for putting food on their own table. It also goes a lot into the environment, particularly because Jeremy Clarkson, as we know from his Top Gear days, was not in particular very environmentally conscious. He was driving cars all around the world and releasing all sorts of petrol fumes and everything like that, but then he goes into and has a bit of an education himself about wilding or rewilding and, bringing the environment back to the standard it should be at in order to, stop the world from ending, basically, and all that sort of stuff. And it's coming from a skeptic, definitely, who's actually an old dog being taught new tricks. But anyway, I gave this book 5 stars. It's hilarious. Jeremy Clarkson would have so many of my generation screaming from the hilltops to have him cancelled, but I love it, and in the best way. He just does not care, and it's an amazing read. It's super funny. Give it a go. In case you were wondering, the full list of books that I read this month were Heart on Fire by Amanda Boucher, which I gave 2 stars, Diddley Squat by Jeremy Clarkson, which I gave 5 stars, Laura Olympus by Rachel Smythe, which I gave 3 stars, Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, which I gave 3 stars, Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna Maguire, which I gave 3 stars, The Gosling Girl by Jacqueline Roy, which I gave 3 stars, Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, which I gave 4 stars, The Appeal by Janice Hallett, which I gave 3 stars, Killing for Company by Brian Masters, which I gave 2 stars, The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, which I gave 3 stars, 4 stars, sorry. Know My Name by Chanel Miller, which I gave 5 stars, A Curious Beginning by Deanna Raybourn, which I gave 4 stars, and The Selection by Kira Cass, which I gave 1 star. That is my March reading update. Let me know down below if you have read any of these books, loved them, hated them, what you think of my thoughts on them, and what book you are most looking forward to from my April TBR, which I will link, of course, down below and up above. As always, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be notified when I release new content. It's a super easy way to help me keep my channel going and flourishing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!